All right, let's get right into it. We're about to crack open the playbook that psychological manipulators use, and you need to know, this isn't random chaos. Oh no. It's a predictable pattern, a set of calculated moves, all designed for one thing: control. Understanding this playbook, well, that's the key to seeing the danger before you get trapped in the game.
And that brings us to the central puzzle we're going to solve. See, we all expect a predator to be loud, aggressive, obviously dangerous, right? But what if the most destructive ones don't roar? What if they whimper? This is the core question we're tackling. Why is the most effective mask for a monster the face of a victim?
To answer that, we have to start with Section 1, identifying the predator's face. Now, we're not talking about every kind of manipulator here. We're zoning in on one specific and frankly deeply insidious type, the covert narcissist.
Now have a look at this. This is so important to understand. On one side, you've got your classic overt narcissist. You know the type: arrogant, entitled, the one who's always demanding to be the center of attention. Their abuse is like a hammer. It's obvious. But then, on the other side, you have the covert narcissist. They look shy, anxious. They play the victim in every story. Their abuse isn't a hammer. It's a slow-acting poison, and is delivered through passive aggression and weaponized pity.
So let's be absolutely clear about what we're talking about. A covert narcissist isn't a nicer or lesser narcissist. They just have a much stealthier delivery system. The core pathology, that deep, deep sense of entitlement, that desperate need for admiration, and that chilling lack of empathy, it's exactly the same. They just get what they want through your guilt and your sense of obligation, not by shouting about it.
And this quote it nails it, doesn't it? This explains the real danger. When abuse is obvious, when it's a hammer, other people see it. They can validate what's happening to you. But with the covert type, the manipulation is so subtle, it's so wrapped up in the language of being hurt that nobody else believes you. That isolation, that feeling that you are going crazy because you're the only one who sees the monster, that is what causes the deepest psychological damage.
It's also really critical to draw a line between these manipulators and, say, a psychopath. A psychopath is often understood as someone who neurologically just can't feel empathy. But a covert narcissist? Oh, they understand empathy perfectly. They just don't feel it for you. Instead, they see your empathy as a tool, like a lever to be pulled to make you do exactly what they want. They turn your own compassion into a weapon against you.
Okay, so let's move on to our next section and see how this all starts. This is about the opening moves in the predator's game. This is how they set what we're calling the kindness trap, to get you to let your guard down. The formal name for this process is adult grooming, and it is so important to understand that this isn't something that happens overnight. It's a slow, strategic erosion of your personal boundaries, and it's designed from day one to make exploitation to make it feel consensual. The process is so gradual that by the time the real abuse begins, the target has already been psychologically conditioned to accept it.
And the playbook for this grooming process is remarkably consistent. First, they target a vulnerability. Maybe you're new to town, or you just went through a tough breakup. Second, they build this incredibly fast, intense, but totally fake intimacy. Third, they start to subtly cut you off from your friends and your family. And finally, they create a deep dependency, making themselves the absolute center of your universe.
One of their most effective opening moves is a tactic that security expert Gavin DeBecker calls loan sharking. And let's be clear, this is not genuine kindness. It's an unsolicited gift, a favor you never ask for, that's designed for one purpose: to create an unspoken debt. The goal is to make you feel like you owe them, because that feeling of obligation can be cashed in later for much, much bigger things.
Another really powerful tactic is something called forced teaming. This is when a manipulator starts using words like we or us to create an instant artificial bond out of thin air. They'll make it seem like you're both in the same boat, facing the same challenge. It is a highly effective way to just bypass your natural suspicion of a stranger and create a shortcut to trust.
I mean, just think about how this simple example works. The word we completely changes the entire dynamic. It's no longer one person asking another person to do something. It suddenly implies a shared decision, like you're in it together. This tiny little linguistic trick is a huge red flag that someone is trying to maneuver you into a more vulnerable position by creating a totally false sense of unity.
So once that trap is set and the victim is isolated, the manipulator moves into the most devastating phase of the playbook: corrupting reality itself. This is where the deepest psychological damage happens.
And the primary tool for doing this is, of course, gaslighting. The goal here isn't just to tell a lie.
The goal is to systematically dismantle your trust in your own mind. It is a slow, deliberate erosion of your reality until you become completely dependent on the manipulator's version of events just to know what's real.
So how does this actually work on a brain level? Well, it triggers something that creates a major glitch in your brain's processing. When what someone does constantly contradicts what they say, your brain is faced with this agonizing choice between two very, very painful realities.
Look at this slide. Your brain has to resolve this conflict. Now, accepting column A, that the person you love and rely on is fundamentally deceptive, that is psychologically catastrophic. It shatters your entire world. So to minimize the damage, your brain often defaults to the less shattering, though still incredibly painful option, column B. It concludes that you must be the one who's wrong or paranoid or crazy.
Another key tool for twisting your reality is something called the word salad. You have to understand, these are not conversations. They are verbal competitions that are designed to be won, not to be resolved. A narcissist will use these chaotic, nonsensical arguments to deliberately exhaust and confuse you until you just give up, accepting their version of things out of sheer fatigue.
And it is so important to recognize the ingredients of this word salad. They will drag you into circular conversations that go absolutely nowhere. They will project their own toxic behavior right onto you. They'll blame you for their own actions and reactions, and they will constantly bring up irrelevant tangents to make sure the real issue is never, ever addressed. The goal isn't communication, it's punishment.
Okay, this brings us to our final and honestly our most important section. Now that we know the playbook, how do we actually spot these tactics in real time? How do we detect the lies before they have a chance to take root?
Well, one really powerful tool is understanding microexpressions. These are lightning-fast, totally involuntary facial movements that betray a person's true feelings. Researchers call this emotional leakage. It's a brief flash of the truth before the conscious mind can slam that mask back into place. Now, it's not a perfect lie detector, but it is a very reliable sign of a hidden emotion.
So you want to keep a sharp eye out for these three in particular. A quick flash of fear or disgust can be very telling. But the most significant red flag for a manipulative personality is contempt. That little one-sided smirk or sneer. It's a powerful, nonverbal signal of superiority and disdain. It's the face someone makes when they truly believe they're better than you and that they're getting away with something.
But beyond all the complex psychology and the subtle cues, there is one signal that just cuts through all the noise. This is the single most reliable predictor of a dangerous, controlling person. They do not accept the word no. Refusing to accept your rejection is not a sign of passion or persistence. It is a fundamental lack of respect for your boundaries, and it is the ultimate red flag.
So we end right where we started. This playbook is designed to be confusing, to make you doubt what you're seeing. But once you know the plays, the victim mask, the kindness trap, the reality corruption, the pattern becomes unmistakable. The real question is, will you trust yourself when you see it?